What's up everyone, welcome to the second tutorial in our PyPlot course. Here we're going to install Matplotlib, which will give us access to PyPlot, which we'll use to graph our data. So we'll start here by covering where to find the package and the documentation. I'll just quickly show you the website and you can kind of explore the documentation there if you'd like. Then we'll learn how to install Matplotlib in Google Colab. If you don't want to install Google Colab, I'll show you how to get the Matplotlib through terminal or command prompt for your Windows users. And then finally, we'll talk about how to access PyPlot from within a Python file. So let's head on over to a browser now. Alright, so as you can see, I've got Chrome open here. If you want to use a different browser, totally fine. This will just be kind of navigating to the documentation. So I'm just going to search for Matplotlib here, Matplotlib, one word. And we're going to go to this first site here. This is the official Matplotlib web page, or I guess this is kind of the home page. So as you can see, it gives you information on installation, gives you the documentation stuff, there's some examples, some tutorials, etc. Now for the most part, the tutorials and the examples documentation is okay, much better than a lot of the other documentation for a lot of other languages I've looked at, but it can still be a little bit confusing, hence why I assume you're taking these courses. Our goal again is, of course, to make this as easy and user-friendly as possible. So if you want to read through these, that's totally fine. What I'd really recommend you do if you're new to this though, is watch our tutorials first, because we'll explain the important parts, and then if there's some specific task you want to achieve, then you could maybe turn to the documentation, or just if you want to learn more later on. Okay, so now you know where to find it, we can kind of close that up. We're going to now turn to Google Colab. Google Colab here. We're going to go to, again, this first link if you want to use Google Colab. If you really don't, that's fine. I'll talk about how to kind of do something else in a second. We're going to go ahead and start a new notebook. Okay. And I'm going to rename this to something like PyPlot code or something like that. And interestingly enough, because Google Colab comes with the latest version of Python, or one of the later versions, it will have the most up-to-date version of Matplotlib installed with it. In fact, I'm pretty sure when you download any version of Python, it should include that version of Matplotlib in it as well. So if you just downloaded Python, you should have Matplotlib installed already. If you don't, then Google Colab will have it installed already. Otherwise, we can go to terminal. Okay, and I'll show you how to install it that way. So if we want to install specifically the Matplotlib package, open up terminal if you're on Linux or Mac. If you're on Windows, then this will be the command prompt. However, if you are on Windows, just make sure you run the command prompt as an administrator. Okay, good stuff. So Windows and Linux, you'll write the command sudo pip install matplotlib, like so. Okay, just provide my password, that's fine. If you're running Windows, you'll basically do the same command, just minus the sudo, because all sudo does is it gives administrative privileges. So Windows users, again, running command prompt as an administrator, it will just be pip install matplotlib, matplotlib like so. Okay, so I'll give you access to the whole Matplotlib library, including PyPlot. Alright, good stuff. Now back to Google Colab, or if you are not using Google Colab, go ahead and start up a new Python file. In order to gain access to the library, we're going to add the import. So zoom in for you guys. We're going to say from Matplotlib, import PyPlot as PLT. Okay, so this again is PyPlot is going to be encompassed in Matplotlib. So this is kind of the overarching library. It has a lot more stuff. We're mostly just interested in PyPlot for now, although I think we will use this right at the very end without PyPlot. But we're basically, for now, just interested in importing PyPlot, and I'm just renaming it to PLT short form. So now if we want to access anything PyPlot related, it'll just be PLT dot, and then whatever we need there. Okay, so include this at the top of any Python file where you need to be using PyPlot. So if you're running Python through just like a text editor or an IDE, be sure to include this line somewhere in the code. Up at the top is probably the right spot for it. If you're running an IPYMB notebook of some sorts, then just kind of add this in its own cell. You can go ahead and run that cell now if you really want. Otherwise, as long as this is good to go, then we're fine here. That's all we wanted to cover. You now know where to find the documentation for Matplotlib. You have access to the Matplotlib library and pyplot with it. And now you know how to access pyplot through a Python file. Again, before you go do all of this, we're assuming that you have a version of Python installed, specifically 3 point something, so make sure you have that done. Okay, when we come back, we're going to be learning how to plot a very basic line and scatter plot and just creating some random data to populate it. So, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in that one.